Lan. Ora.
Ora. Now, did you say anything you didn't want to say?
No.
She didn't talk about me.
Dress.
Oh, it's okay. You wanted them to do a sound check?
Last time I checked it was alright.
Can you guys just say a few words, make sure the sound is coming out of the mic?
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay,
Hi.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to give a short introduction so they know where we are and who we are. My name is Deanda Johnson. I'm interviewing Mr. Gary Chandler and Mrs. Retha Norris Chandler on September 3rd, 2006 at Armico Park for the Chandler Family Reunion for the African American Presence in the Ohio River Valley Oral History Project. First of all, thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed. First question is really easy. If you could just tell me your full name and spell it for me.
My full name is Gary Allen Chandler Jr. I'm a senior. GARYCHANDLERSR.
And your
My name is Retha Norris Chandler. That's RETHANORRISCHANDLER.
And can you give me your date and place of birth, sir?
March 16th, 1941 in Lowell, Ohio.
I was born September 3rd, 1942 in Zanesville, Ohio.
And sir, were you born at home or in a hospital?
I was born in a hospital.
Okay, what hospital?
Marietta Memorial Hospital. I think that's what it was.
And who are your parents?
Dolores and Walter Chandler. Walter and Dolores Chandler.
And do you know where and when they were born by any chance?
No, I couldn't tell you that one. They were born down in Lowell too, but I don't know just. See, my mother, she was born in Coal Run, I think it was, and my father, I think he was born in Rainbow, I think.
How about your father's parents? Do you know who they were?
Not really, no, because they passed away by the time I was real young, and I never got to know them that well.
How about your mother's parents?
My mother's parents, now my grandmother, I got to know her real well. But, my grandfather, he died early.
And what was your grandmother's name?
Dalton, Monzelma Dalton.
And your grandfather?
Jacob Dalton. Well, my grandmother was her before her marriage was Armstrong Dalton, put it that way.
Do you know where she was born? Where was she born?
I think she was born in Coal Run.
And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I got there's 9 of us all together. I got 4 brothers. There's 4 boys and 5 girls.
And what are their names?
My oldest sister's name is Naoma Scipio, and she lives in Columbus, Ohio. And I got David Walter. He lives in Zanesville, Ohio. And there's Daryl Eugene. He lives in Zanesville, Ohio. And Yvonne, she lives in Zanesville. Who's next? Loretta. She lives in Newark, Ohio. And who comes after her? Diana Jean, male. She lives here in Zanesville. Then Vicky Jo. She lives here in Zanesville. Then there's Galen. He lives here in Zanesville.
So are all your siblings all living?
All living.
And how about your parents?
Both is deceased.
Do you remember when they passed away?
Can you give me some help on that one?
Your mother died in 81, October of 81. And your father died in July of, I believe it was 97 when.
6 and 97.
And how about you? Were you born at home or in a hospital?
I was born at home in Zanesville, Ohio.
And who were your parents?
Clayton and Retha. And they're both deceased. And my father's parents were Osmer and Gertrude Norris. And my mother's parents were John and Blanche Barnett.
And what was your mother's maiden name?
My mother's maiden name was Barnett.
And do you know when your parents were born or where they were born?
My father was born in October of 1914. Now, I believe he was born in Zanesville. And my mother was born February the 14th, 1914. And I also believe she was born here in the county, Muskegon County.
And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 6 brothers and 1 sister. My sister's name is Gertrude Martin, and I have a brother named Clayton Norris, and I have a brother Leroy Norris, deceased, a brother Joseph Norris, deceased. I have a brother Keith Norris, who lives here in Zanesville, and Steve Norris, who lives here in Zanesville, and Danny Norris, in Zanesville. All my brothers live in Zanesville. My sister lives in St. Martin's Ferry, Ohio.
And where do you fit in the line?
I'm number 5.
And how about you? Where do you fit in the line?
I'm number 5. Let's see, 9. Let's see, I got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes. Naomi, Dave, Pete. You're 6.
6.
He's number 6.
Now, where did you grow up?
Zanesville.
Zanesville? And what schools did you attend in Zanesville?
McIntyre, went to can't even talk. McIntyre's doing grade school, and Roosevelt on my junior high school, and Zanesville High School, senior. And the high school is it. I didn't go any further. I went into the service after that.
And what year did you graduate from high school?
1960.
1960. And did you ever experience any prejudice or discrimination in school?
Not really. No. Everything seemed to go pretty good.
How about while living in Zanesville and growing up in Zanesville, do you ever remember experiencing prejudice or discrimination?
In a roundabout way, yeah.
How so?
I mean, different places where you could go, where, you was allowed to go, or places, like Maple Avenue. There was just a couple places on Maple Avenue you were permitted to go into, but other than that, things were pretty well straight.
How about swimming?
Well, we had the old ink well. That was our pool for years, and we had one right across on the other side of the ball field, municipal pool, which we weren't allowed to go for years. Then they finally opened it up so we could go swimming.
And where was the inkwell located?
Inkwell was located on Licking Road.
How about roller skating?
Monday night. That was it. We were allowed to go, like say, on Monday nights. And everybody congregated down on Monday night at the Lind Arena on Linden Avenue.
How about movie theaters? How often did you go to the movies?
Well, movie theaters wasn't that bad. I mean, we, you could go in, and we always liked to sit in the balcony anyway, so it didn't bother us that much.
Why did you like to sit in the balcony?
Just away from everybody, I guess. You just do your own thing up there.
What types of things were you doing in the balcony?
Oh, nothing, just hanging out.
Now, what was dating like when you were in school?
Well, with her, I started out when I was in the second grade, and it was off and on through high school, and she finally hooked me up.
So how did you guys meet? You met in second grade?
We met at the church,
What church?
at the Wesleyan Methodist Church, and well, we were brought up in the church. Well, then she moved to a different area, and she started going to another church. And, no, she used to go down for the Christmas plays and different things, sit on my mom's lap.
So how old were you when you started dating?
We didn't date
We didn't
till
actually,
date till after you got out of
serious
service.
dating till after I got out of service, but we was just good friends, put it that way.
And when did you guys get married?
We got married, tell her that.
We got married in 1965. We've been married for 41 years.
There's long marriages in the Chandler family. Where did you guys marry?
We got married here in Zanesville at Apostolic Christian Church. In Zanesville.
Was it a big wedding or a small wedding? How many people attended? Do you remember?
It wasn't a big wedding, but then we had big families, so there was a lot of people there.
Do you remember what you wore?
Yes, I wore a beige lace suit and a little beige hat with a veil.
And how many kids do you guys have?
4.
And what are their names?
We have Retha Dawn Crump, her name's Crump now, Gary Allen Chandler Jr., Julie Chandler Johnson, and Andre Chandler.
Sorry, Joan. Because when you walk that way, you walk through the shot. And so were your children born at home or in a hospital?
Hospital.
What hospital were your children born?
2 of them were born at Good Samaritan, and 2 of them were born at Bethesda.
Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Zanesville. We were like 7 or 8 when you moved to Zanesville, weren't you? He lived in Lowell, Ohio, till he was about 7. But I've lived in Zanesville all my life.
I was second grade when I moved to Zanesville.
So what school did you go to in Lowell?
I didn't. Oh, yes, I did. Went to, what's the name of that little schoolhouse down there?
Cedar Ridge?
Is that what it is? I guess that's what it is. Cedar Ridge.
It's down there at Rainbow, isn't it?
The Rainbow.
A little one-room school.
One-room schoolhouse. I went down there my first year or so.
And do you remember anything about going to school there? What do you remember about going to school there?
Well, like I said, it was a one-room schoolhouse. Okay, the grades difference, first, second, third grade, you just moved back a seat. Had one teacher, and most of it was family.
What was your teacher's name? Do you remember?
Miss Wilson? I think so.
And what race was your teacher there?
I think she was white. Or was. It's been a long time ago.
What was most of the students in your class? What were most of your students in
They
the
were
class?
black.
How about when you moved to Zanesville?
It was a mixed bag there. I mean, just mix of all kinds, in other words. But everything was all right.
And where did you live in Zanesville?
846 Jackson Street, Zanesville, Ohio.
How about you? Where did you attend school?
I went to Munson Elementary, then I went to Roosevelt Junior High, then Zanesville High School.
And where did you live in Zanesville?
I lived on South State Street all my life. Well, ever since I was about 3, I lived there.
And so after going to high school, what did you do? After graduating from high school, what did you do?
I went in the service in the Air Force. I was in there for 4 years and served my time in Texas, Oregon, Korea, and Cape Cod.
And were you in the Korean War?
No.
So what years were you in the service?
From 1960 to 1964.
And how about you? What did you do after high school?
I went to a business college for a year here in town. It's called Meredith Business College, and then I just worked.
And what types of jobs did you do after getting?
Clerical office jobs. I'm a social worker now. I've gone back and taken various courses and things, but I don't have a degree. I've taken a lot of college, various courses, but
And what year did you graduate from high school?
1960.
And would you say, how is finding work here in Zanesville? Has it been easy? What are some of the challenges you face finding employment here?
Well, there is a degree of prejudice to a certain degree. I know my first real job was with the county. I worked at the courthouse, and it was kind of a political job. So I was kind of like a token black, maybe. I don't know. I didn't really know that. I just knew that they had come to me and offered me the job, so I took it. I worked for a high bell. I personally never encountered any prejudice in obtaining employment, but I know some people have talked about it. And like he said, we had the skating was only like Monday night skating and the inkwell, and there's an ice cream shop in there called Tom's Ice Cream Bowl, and they closed on Mondays. And some people said they closed on Monday so that they wouldn't have to serve the blacks. So there's a lot of older black people in the area that will not go to that place. My husband doesn't feel comfortable going there. He won't go in. He'll send me in, or we'll go through the drive-thru. It doesn't bother me. I don't, I've never, but you do get, we've encountered, when we've gone places, we've encountered looks, people, because with being lighter skin, when you go away from Zanesville, a lot of people think that I'm white. And we have that one, my youngest daughter, she's brown skin, and she said she got, when she would be with me, that we'd get a lot of looks. I never paid attention, but she said, oh, Mom said people look at us funny. And, when we were in Myrtle Beach one time, my oldest daughter, who's very fair too, one of the maids pulled her aside and asked her, well, what nationality are you people? But it wasn't a hateful thing or anything like that, but that's the type of.
How about restaurants here in Zanesville, and bars and different eateries and different things like that growing up? Were there places you could and couldn't go to eat?
Well, there were different places, like the Steak and Stein out on Maple Avenue. And we never, I never got thrown out of any place, or anything like that. But, we went in there, but, all in all, to me, I was dealt pretty fair,
Of course, when we were younger, we couldn't afford to go out to eat, but since he and I have been married, and I never encountered really anything.
Now, do you know how the Chandlers came to Ohio?
Not really. My grandfather, on my father's side, he came here from Indiana, but where, I don't know. And I didn't get to know him either, because he passed away before. Just like most of them, other than my grandmother on my mother's side, I got to know her real well, but the rest of them I didn't know that well, because they had passed on when I was coming up.
What are some of the things that you've learned about your family history? Like, how was the family history passed down in your family?
By the older ones. You just ask the older people, you know, just what's what. It's like my aunt right now, she's getting up a family book, you know, on everybody, and just come down through the generations.
What are some of the stories that you heard from the older folks growing up about the family?
Not too much of anything. Matter of fact, get right down to it, because I mean, it's the spread in there between us, you know. And but then by the time, you know, you got to the point where, like I said, my grandmothers, you know, the ones that's been around for a while, you know, if you could learn from them, they were gone, you know. My mother, she died at a young age. She was only 68, 9. She died, you know, so that just threw that out too. So when we were at the point, at the age, you know, your inquisitive age, you know, most everybody was gone.
Do you know why your family moved from Lowell to Zanesville?
Well, what they was doing, there was what you would call, my dad was what you call a sharecropper down at the Dar farmer in Rainbow. And he would work down there in the summertime and work up here for the Dunswaller Construction Company in the wintertime. Then it got to the point where, you know, just getting to be too much. So he just picked us up and moved us to Zanesville in 1949. I think it was 1949.
And now, have you two lived in Zanesville since you've been married?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
And what other jobs have you held after you got out of the military?
Well, I got out of the military, excuse me, and I worked construction for Dunswaller Construction for a while. Then I went to work at Line Material, that's a transformer division, line materials. And then they were bought out by Cooper Industries. I worked with them. Well, I worked out there off and on. Them back when we got married, I was back working construction again because I got laid off. And I tried to talk her out of it. She wasn't going to hear it. So she said, well, we'll get married, you know. So everything worked out after that when we got married. I went back out there and I worked out there for 27 and a half years. Then they closed the plant. Then I went to work for ODC Campgrounds. And I worked there for about 13, 14 years and I retired.
How did you learn about your family, the Norrises, growing up?
Well, through my dad would tell me things. His parents would tell me, my grandparents would tell me things. I used to go, my dad is from Morgan County, down in Chesterhill and down in that area. And in the summer I would go down there and stay with his aunt. And so I'd learn about the family down there. And he had a brother that lived in Canton, Ohio, and I used to go there in the summer and spend time with them. And
what are some of the things that you learned about the Norrises?
Well, I learned that my grandfather at one time was like a revenuer. He had a still. My grandmother, she was from West Virginia, and just different things, you know, family things that go through the family, things that they about their family history, what all they had encountered, and you know, they were like my grandfather was. He lived kind of on the outskirts of the city, and
what grandfather? What was his name?
His name was Osmond Norse, and he had a lot of garden, and I'd go out there, and my dad always had a garden there, and we'd go out and pick the garden. My grandfather had cherry trees and different things in Grape Harbor, and I was fascinated. He had a pump, and for a long time he didn't have indoor plumbing, and he had an outhouse, but he had a pump, and I just was fascinated by that pump, and I'd always go, because the water was always so cold and good, and that was one of my memories from my grandfather. Plus, this is not a real pleasant memory, but it's just he chewed tobacco, and he had a can there, and he died killed. But you know, it was nice. I mean, it was a good family.
Was slavery? What was discussed about slavery, if anything?
I don't think on my dad's side of the family, I really don't think that there was a lot of talk about slavery. I can't think of anything and talk about it.
How about in your family?
Not really. Just it wasn't discussed. I don't think. I mean, I heard at one time that my grandmother on my father's side was her parent. She was in the slave trades, but other than that, that was about it.
Why do you think it wasn't discussed as part of the family's history?
I don't know. It was just wasn't brought up.
I know my mother, for a long time, until she got older and joined church, she didn't like white people. So she evidently, in her childhood or her family, there must have been something. She never talked about it, but she didn't like white people, I know.
Do you know, where in West Virginia did your family come from?
Well, it was my grandmother, well, my father's mother. I'm thinking Philippi. I think somewhere along in there. And I thought it was unusual because my grandmother, I knew her father. I was like about 7 when he died. And he was a tall, slender man, but he was very dark and had a real bushy white beard. But their mother was a white woman. And I thought that for back then, because my grandmother lived to be 99, and I thought back then, way back then, that must have been quite unusual for a white man and a black man, a white woman and a black man to marry. But they married and had 2 children.
What were their names, the grandparents' names?
My grandfather's name was Samuel Martin, but I don't know what her mother's name was because my grandmother was only 4 when her mother died, and then her father remarried, and he remarried a black lady, and her name was Stevie. I don't know maybe it was Stephanie, but they called her Stevie, I guess. I never knew her. I only knew my grandfather, and I was 7 he was my great-grandfather. He was 7 when I died, and but so I thought that was quite unusual that they would have a mixed marriage that many years ago, but.
Growing up, you said your family attended the Wesley Methodist Church.
Mm-hmm.
How often did they attend church?
Oh, my mother was there whenever the doors was open, and we were at Sunday school and things like that. Every Sunday, she made sure of that, and get us out there and walk to church. Wasn't no riding, and no, that was the deal right there. We were there every time. Well, she was there every time the doors were open. We didn't go to, like, say, on Sunday school and stuff like that on Sunday.
How old were you when your family got a car?
Oh, well, we had a car when we lived down at Lowell or down in Rainbow, but it wasn't much of a car, but it was a car. I can remember plugging along in it, but we used to drive it to Zanesville, and he would run up the highway on 40 miles an hour. You could look out on the highway, looking down by the wheel. But other than that, I mean, it was a car, if you want to call it that. It was our car anyway.
What activities were associated with attending church besides going to church on Sunday?
Activities? Oh, well, we used to have, like, say, Christmas plays and different things. Will you remember?
Yeah, it's Christmas, I got young people's meetings.
Young people's meetings and different things like that. Just church activities, for the young kids and stuff like that.
Did religion influence behavior in your household?
Yes, ma'am.
How did it influence behavior?
You better behave. But no, my mother, she wasn't strict, but she was strict enough, But she believed in it, She believed in the Bible, They're out a rear person from the Bible. And you go down that road, the road she sends you down, and you go from there.
What were some of the things you could and couldn't do growing up?
Couldn't do?
Yeah, could or couldn't do.
Go to joints. That was a no-no.
Now, what are joints?
Liquor establishments. But we never, fool around with them that much anyway. Because back when we were coming up, I mean, there wasn't that many places to go, anyway. And we just hung out with friends and whatever, stuff like that.
How about you growing up? How often did your family attend church?
Well, my parents, up until I was 10 years old, my parents didn't go to church. My mother sent us to Sunday school to the Wesleyan Methodist Church, which is just down the street, and that's how I met, But we went to church. We went to Sunday school every Sunday, and we'd become involved in the Christmas plays and young people's meetings and things. Then when I was 10, my mother joined another church and took us there. But my father never went to church, and his family, my father's family, but they were not church-going people. But my mother, her father was a Catholic, and so she had a Catholic influence. And that's my son. And so, but then my mother joined the Apostolic Church, and so I started going there. So I've been going there since I was 10.
And now, what church do you belong? Do you belong to a church?
Same church.
Okay,
Yes.
what's the name of the church?
Apostolic Christian.
And growing up, how did religion influence behavior in your house?
Well, it did, because even though up until I was 10, my mother didn't go to church, she still instilled in us right from wrong, and she was a strict mother. My father wasn't quite so strict, especially with me, the girls, but yes, my mother was very strict with me as far as dating and not being allowed to go to certain establishments. I was allowed to go to the community center, and I was allowed to go to skating, I could go to the movies, but there were like some teenage hangouts, kind of shady, like not shady, but I wasn't allowed to go there. But of course, sometimes I snuck and went. But if one of my older brothers saw me, he'd take me out, but make me leave. But my mom was very strict with me.
How about music? What role did music play in your family?
Not really. I mean, my sisters, they played the piano sometimes. I played the trumpet when I was in junior high, grade school. Got to junior high and got to get into football, so I gave it up. But other than that, I mean, music is just choir. My mother was in the choir and different things.
You said you played. What sports did you play in high school?
Football and track.
How good were you?
About average, I'll put it that way.
What about being a kicker and having a record?
Well, that's average.
Oh, you have to explain about that. That's an exciting thing. Tell us more.
Oh, I had a record there at one time I was a punter too, for punting the ball. Plus, I had a track record for a while too, in the 100-yard dash.
How fast?
Well, back then it was 10-2. That was a record. They probably done busted it wide open by now. So, but other than that, that's about it. Me in sports.
How about the radio? How often did you listen to the radio growing up?
Every chance I got. That's about the only thing we had. We got a first television, I think it was in 1950 or 51, somewhere along in there. But we always liked to listen to Randy's Record Mart on Saturday night, on the weekends, through the week, and I always had my radio tuned into that. Got my first car in the 11th grade, and things went on from there. Always had
What car was it?
a 1949 Mercury, 4-door Mercury.
What other radio programs did you listen to besides Randy's record?
Just local stations like Zanesville, whatever.
How about you? What role did music play in your family?
Well, not a real big role, but we used to, on Saturday nights, I don't remember this as much as my sister does, and she always talks about, but we used to, my dad, he listened to the Grand Ole Opry, and I think he played the guitar, and he yodeled some. We used to listen to the radio programs at night, my brothers and sister, because we didn't have TV right then. And we listened to Boston Blackie and Only the Shadow Knows and maybe the Green Hornet, I don't know. But I'd always get scared, and but they listened to those, and of course we listened to the radio because phonograph records too. We had records.
How old were you when you got electricity?
Well, I've always had electricity. I've never, I've always had modern conveniences, so to speak. But yeah. But I think I was like 9 or 10 before we had TV. We only got one channel at the time.
Do you remember what you watched?
Well, we used to watch Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca. A dumb show called Pinky Lee, and just whatever was on the local station. I can't remember all of them, but Bonanza, different shows like that.
The Shadow Knows.
Only the Shadow Knows.
So only the Shadow Knows was on radio and television?
No, I don't think it was just on the radio. I don't
Just
remember
on
being
radio.
on television. I don't know what all the shows were we watched, but it was just whatever was on the local NBC channel.
How about health and illnesses that ran in your family? What illnesses run in your family?
Well, let's see. I'll start with my mother. She died of cancer. She had stomach cancer.
So she has diabetes.
Who?
She had diabetes.
Yeah,
also.
she had diabetes too. And my dad, he lived to be 93 years old. he was a diabetic too. And then I got a sister and a brother with diabetes and with self. It just started on me. And as far as I'd say heart problems or anything like that, nothing like that. Just like I say, my mother, she had that stomach cancer. And other than that, just the diabetes situation. Other than that, that's about it.
And how about when you were young and you had a cold or a flu or you got hurt? How was that treated?
Cloverine salve.
What's that?
Cloverine salve, that's what I always call it, because my brothers, they always tell me, if you fell off the top of a house, Mom, you break your arm, she put Cloverine salve on it and send you on to play.
How else were things treated? How about when you got a cold?
Oh, they had all those old-time remedies, I don't remember them all, mustard packs and different things, liniment, stuff like that, for chest cold and different things, but other than that, just them home remedies. No doctors. Couldn't afford no doctor.
How about in your family?
My father died of liver and liver cancer. My mother had heart failure. My one brother died of lung cancer. My other brother had cardiac arrest. He was an alcoholic, but he had cardiac arrest. Arthritis. My mother and her side of the family, a lot of her brothers, she was from a family of 12, and a lot of them had diabetes. My mother didn't, but a lot of them had diabetes, and arthritis ran in their family. My sister has had both of her knees replaced, and I just recently had a partial knee replacement, so it's kind of, the arthritis kind of runs in our family. But if we had a cold or anything like that, I I don't know, we'd get maybe some cold cough medicine, stuff like that. We went to the doctor when we were, if we needed to, we went to the doctor. Trying to think of some of the other remedies that, I mean, it was just regular over-the-counter remedies, you know, if we got sick, you know, maybe aspirin. Or I know we used to have, when we were younger, at night, we'd always get a little cod liver oil pill, and they'd wrap it in a little bit of bread, and we lined up, and we all of us got a little cod liver oil pill, and I guess that was to keep us healthy.
How about shopping? Where would you buy or purchase most of your clothing growing up? I mean, purchase or make, sorry.
Well, we usually, go shopping before school, and J.C. Penney's. We got to put it in the layaway for the whole summer and pay on it all summer long. That's where we got that's the way we done our shopping, you know, stuff like that. But I wasn't much of a shopper. My mother, she would just lay our clothes away for the winter. You wear them all winter too. And of course, one pair of shoes, one pair of sneakers or whatever, you know, that's all you got. So you better take care of it.
Now, would you have to earn money for your own clothes, or would your parents buy them?
Well, we earned as much as we could. I worked a caddy at the golf course, cut grass and different things. You know, any kind of odd jobs we could get, you know, we went with that. So a lot of times, you know, you go out to the golf course and caddy all day long, but then you eat up your money before you get home. Because you're tired and hungry anyway. But other than that, you know, we try to, you know, pay for it as we go all summer long to pay for it. You know. Usually we get it. What happened?
You're almost done, sorry. There. How about you?
Well, we shopped. My mother did layaway things too for us, but my grandmother, she bought us a lot of things. My grandmother did, and I had my mother's sister was my godmother, and she always bought me shoes and clothes, and then sometimes we'd have hand-me-downs, but I don't know, we'd go shopping. My mother would take me shopping, and because my sister was the oldest, and she worked a lot and bought most of her own things, and but I was kind of the baby for a while, and I don't know, my aunt bought me stuff, my grandmother bought me stuff, and my mother, you know, because I had 6 brothers, and they just bought me stuff.
Well, before we end, is there anything you'd like to tell me that I haven't asked, or anything that you think is important to know about yourself or your family?
Well, I think, like I said, we've been married for 41 years, and I think it's because our families basically had the same values, you know, and so when we got married, our values were more or less the same. I mean, you know, we believed in God and worship, and believed in taking our children to church and serving the Lord, and so I think that has helped us maintain a strong family ties, and families are important, and we try to instill in our children the value of families. I credit that good, clean living and serving the Lord for our success.
But you have anything to add?
No, that's a wrap.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay.
I just have to have you sign these things saying I didn't force you at gunpoint to do